We are going to be talking about the highs and lows of this deck, talking about what's inside it. By the end of this video, you will understand, is this worth buying at all? So if you're curious in this deck and not sure if you want to buy it, stick around and I will answer all the questions, hopefully by the end of the video. But first, a word from our sponsor. The sponsor of this video is me. I have started an Etsy page where I'm going to try and be selling clothes that I've designed, thought would be funny, thought would be cool, thought would be amazing on people's bodies. So I literally spent maybe a month or two looking at different resources and stuff to come up with the nicest clothes I could possibly find, with the coolest designs that I have done myself, with stuff like playmats, hoodies, t-shirts. I'm going to try and do phone cases. They're harder than I thought, but I do think that it is a really good thing to actually put into. So if you would like to help me out or help the channel out, please go onto my Etsy. It will be linked down below and you'll be able to find very nice clothing and also be supporting the channel. So links down below, and also if there's any other designs, I will be putting on any of my social media, so please follow me there as well. So since this is a commander deck, of course we have to talk about the commander. When it comes to these decks, there's usually a face card, which is on the box and stuff, and then there is a sub-commander. So I'm going to start off with the commander, and the commander being cast Eye of the Glade. For a hybrid mana of a red and white and a green, you get a legendary creature, Druid Detective, that is a mythic. Whenever a creature you control that was turned face up this turn deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Tap. Turn target face down attacking creature you control face up, and he is a 2/2. Right off the bat, I love this commander, mainly for two reasons. One, it is a really good theme. I really like when they actually kind of hard focus on a commander. Two, for 2 mana you get a 2/2 with a really cool ability, but the best thing about it, in my opinion, is the hybrid mana, because if you start the game and you only have, we'll say, a white and green or a red and green, you know that you can play your commander turn 2. The fact that you don't need all 3 colors to play a 3-color commander deck is really good, and it also has a quite powerful ability for only 2 mana. Now the only downside is when it comes to this, you have to focus on face down cards, but with a deck themed about it, it's already going to do majority of the job for a really good deck. And I say, probably without even looking at this deck, the way they usually build them, that this commander straight off the bat is usually quite good, or at least playable, and then the rest is just up to you to upgrade. Now I know out of the thousands of Magic cards, there is not many face down cards. However, there's probably ways around it that you can put cards in to make this a really good deck if you want to. Next is the sub-commander, and the sub-commander is Duskiner, the Rage Mother. For 2 red, green and a white, you get a legendary creature, Bear, that is a mythic. When Duskiner, the Rage Mother, enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control with base power and toughness 2/2. Whenever a creature you control with base power and toughness 2/2 attacks, it gets +3/+3 until end of turn and is a 5/5. Now 5 mana for a 5/5 with no keywords is not really good in my opinion. However, this ability does make it worth it. This is actually a commander that I would actually personally love to build, because it doesn't have to not be, because I know it's based on the bears, and bears usually have no abilities at all. They're just base 2/2s. So the fact that that doesn't count, so you can have ETB triggers or activated ability triggers, but as long as it's a 2/2, it technically becomes a 5/5. Then plus later on, if you want to play your commander, you draw a bunch of cards for each 2/2 you control. But my only, not problem, but my only worry when it comes to this deck is with one being face down cards. Now I know a lot of them are going to be base 2/2s, and a commander, I would love to see these built separately, but I know there's going to be a lot of crossover, which is going to make one weaker than the other. I say if I wanted to build this bear deck, it would be a good bit more powerful than the base deck, but that's mainly because it's going to be focusing on face down cards. Now let's go on to the deck itself, starting off with creatures. In this deck there is a total of 38 creatures, which is a lot, but it does make sense, because I say a lot of them are going to be face down creatures, or with the new mechanic Disguise, and I do, by looking at the commander and sub-commander, did think originally this is going to be a very heavy creature deck. So again, you get really good creatures like Bolt Bender, Experiment 12, Print Lifter Ooze, Exalted Angel, Hidden Dragon Slayer, Master of Pearls, Mirror Entity, Welcoming Vampire, Achroma Angel of Fury, Ash Cloud Phoenix, Imperial Hellkite, Nehab the Eternal, Scrounge of the Thorn, Death Mist Raptor, Hooded Hydra, Oran Frostfang, Seaborn Muse, Thornlight Hermit, Toski Bearer of Secrets, Eudora Grave Gardener, Sidar Konda of Jamara, Sarath the Viperfang, Teska Judith's Hellhound. So to be honest, looking at this, I'm actually kind of shocked with how many powerful and big creatures there are in this deck, especially since one is to do with face down cards and one is to do with base power being 2/2, but there is a lot of good cards that I've seen in this deck that I haven't seen a reprint in quite a while, and I do think they are really good creatures overall. When it comes to this already, I do think using it as a kind of skeleton to build the bear is still at that kind of level, but I say straight off the bat, if you want to have the face commander, this deck is kind of good enough as it currently is, but we got to see how that rolls out later on in this video. So now let's go on to the enchantments of the deck. When it comes to the enchantments of this deck, there is a total of 7 in the deck, but here are some honorable mentions. Veiled Ascension, Obscuring Aether, Trail of Mysteries, and Urgen's Mastery. As I thought, when it comes to these enchantments, they're hard focusing on turning cards face down and then being 2/2s and stuff. So the fact that they're hard focusing on this is really good in my opinion. I do think these are really good enchantments. If there's any enchantments that you think would also be good in this deck, because I don't really look up face down cards a lot, let me know in the comments down below. Next, we are going on to the instances of this deck. When it comes to instances, there is 6 in total, 1 less than the enchantments, but you get instances such like Showstopper Surprise, Chaos Warp, Return of the Wild Speaker, and Cheskai's Will. Now, there's only 2 really cards I want to focus on when it comes to this. I'm kind of seeing a lot of Chaos Warps and Rhythm of the Wilds type of cards. They're good, but they seem to just be kind of placeholders. Same with Path and Swords. But there was the Showstopper card that I read, and it took me a few times to go, this potentially could be really good or really bad. It seems to be a very 50-50 card. And then of course, Jessica's Will. To be honest, I'm shocked to see a card this powerful in these type of decks. Now I think they've upped the price, so I do think they are going to be putting better cards in, but Jessica's Will is one of those potential game just enders. It is such a powerful and great card, and I'm kind of shocked to see it, but I'm happy they are reprinting it. I could see some people, depending on the price of the deck, buying the deck solely because of Jessica's Will, and then if they want majority of the cards, but Jessica's Will being kind of the hard push on if they buy it or not. Now, you cannot have instances without sorceries, so in this deck there is a total of 6 sorceries, same as the instance, but here are some honourable mentions. Austria's Command, Fell the Mighty. So when it comes to this just seems to be the weakest point of the deck, but again, every deck has to have the weakest point. Putting sorceries in this deck does not make really much sense. There's not many, or if there is any, face down sorceries or 2/2 sorceries or anything like that. The only thing I could think of is if you are planning to do an all-out attack with your 2/2s and then start flipping them, playing some sorcery that powers up majority or 1 creature. But again, board wipes are necessary or not necessary, but board wipes are very loved in Magic the Gathering, so of course they need to put some board wipes in. So again, they're quite decent board wipes for a deck. Now let's go on to the artifacts of the deck. When it comes to this deck, there is 6 in total, 2 of them being Mana Rocks, so the other 4 are Panatonic Projector, Lifecrafter's Bestiary, Scroll of Fate, Ransom Note. These cards are very interesting. They just kind of seem to be, this is the theme, this is what we're looking for. Here is the obvious answers of artifacts we should put in. There you go. There doesn't seem to be really that much creativity when it comes to the artifacts, but again, I understand why. Now, when it comes to the make or break of the deck, it is the lands. In this deck, there is a total of 37 lands. So we will go over some of them to see, is this deck going to be made or broken by this deck? So you get lands such like Capney Vista, Cinderglade, Fortified Village, Fury Calm Snarl, Game Trail, Kessing Wolf Run, Mossfire Valley, Shrine of the Forsaken Gods, Branch of Vitu Ghazi, Zotanic Caverns. Now, to be honest, I thought there's going to be a lot less, but to be honest, there's a lot more good lands, so I do think it's worth it. But now we get to answer, is this deck worth it or not? To be honest, if you are interested of face down cards, there's a lot of good creatures. This deck is really good as a skeleton deck, or overall a really good deck depending on the price. Personally, I would hard focus on the Bear Commander, but that's just personally me. I do think this is an absolutely amazing deck, and again, worth buying if you are somewhat interested in it. But if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. While you're there, remember to like, subscribe, and follow me on my social media. But as always, if you like this video, I have more Magic the Gathering stuff here, a playlist here, and a subscribe button here, and I'll see you all in the next video.